Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Ashlee Froese. I am a branding lawyer. My scope of practice is trademarks, copyright, domain names, social media, marketing and advertising, packaging and labeling. I was on Bay Street for 10 years, fast-tracked to partner pretty quick, certified specialist in the Law Society of Trademarks Law, been recognized the last 3 years as one of the top 1,000 trademark lawyers globally by the World Trademark Review. Launched my own firm close to 2 years ago. It is a firm that really, thank you so much, we deal with B2C businesses, but essentially I'm a branding lawyer. This is my world. I will be moderating this panel, but this is for you guys to learn. Sometimes I find that lawyers are great at the law, but perhaps not so good at the business development, and perhaps not moving into new mediums as well. But the new mediums are here, so get on board or get left behind. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. So Sean is a teacher and independent consultant with CamTech. It is a digital marketing agency that works with B Corps, social enterprises, and nonprofits. And he works to amplify their impact by accelerating growth. Sean is regarded as an expert in digital marketing specializing in search engine optimization, Google Ads, and Google Analytics, which is very important. Kristy is next. She is a principal strategist at Brightlight Content, and she is a content strategist with 10 years experience. She founded Brightlight Content in 2017 with a focus on helping small businesses employ back-to-basics content marketing strategies to solve real-world problems. And she leads a talented team of world-class writers, designers, and content strategists that believe in the power of words. And last but not least, we have Claire Bazley, who is a digital marketing and CRM consultant, and she will tell us what CRM is. And she has enjoyed over 10 years of data-driven marketing roles and results. She began her career in marketing analytics. She quickly found her passion working alongside Fortune 500 companies by translating those complex business problems into clear insights and measured outcomes. She supports a team at Brightlight Content Strategy with business-to-business lead generation campaigns powered by marketing automation and CRM solutions. So thank you all. So in this seminar, we're talking about online content and social media from the lawyer's perspective, and it's really geared towards helping you guys infiltrate the marketplace. From a personal standpoint, I was an early adopter of social media as a business development tool in the legal world, and I found it's been instrumental for me. So straw poll, who is using social media on a personal level here? Hands up. Loud and proud, raise them. Who is using social media on a professional level? Fantastic. And who is not yet using social media on a professional level and looking to ramp that up? Okay. Straw poll. What platforms are you using? LinkedIn. Okay. Blog and newsletters. Twitter. Facebook. Instagram, Snapchat. Anyone using Snapchat on a professional level? Even I'm not doing that. Okay, straw poll. What is the function of your professional online business? Is it to increase exposure? Yeah? Is it to generate business leads? Okay, and who hasn't thought about any of this stuff? Who's just like, what's this chick talking about? Okay. And just so you know, I'm the only one that can refer to myself as a chick, so we're clear. Okay, fine. So we're going to talk about web traffic and newsletters, because if you're a lawyer without a website, you got to get on board. Like, that's just foundational, and that blows my mind. So in my mind, it is very unlikely that you would be selling services or products, for that matter, and not have a good website. And so my question to the speakers, because I'm here to share the mic. I don't always do that. What makes a good website? So, Sean, roll with it.
Yeah, so I think a good website really starts with having the right strategy in place. Jana did an awesome job, I thought, of explaining kind of some of the considerations. And so when I say having the right strategy in place, it's really nailing those fundamentals of understanding what are our objectives, who's our audience, what does that marketing funnel look like, so awareness, consideration, loyalty and advocacy, and then how does the website play a role in that marketing and business development journey, so mapping out those online touch points to those offline touch points. So that's kind of the starting point. And then there's all of the nitty-gritty stuff that honestly is kind of down the road, like making sure it's technically strong and you know, making sure that you've got the right HTML tags in this place and that place. Like that's not nearly as important as having the right strategy.
Nice.
Yeah, I think building on that, if you can think about your website not as your key marketing tool, but as the resource center on all things your area of law. So instead of thinking about your website as this is where people would go to find our phone number or learn about our partners, it's a place where they would go to learn about the process and the scope of your practice and what they should expect and how much it's going to cost and all the decision-making factors that would come into play for them. And depending on your area of law, in a language that they speak, right? Which is maybe a different language than you speak, yeah. Not actual language, but technically.
Yeah.
So making sure that when you think about your website, everything Sean just said, plus, does it feel like a resource center? Will someone hit our website and say, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I do not have to go back to Google. Then that's a good website.
So would you kind of say that the website has taken over importance of a brick and mortar office location?
100%.
And
especially like, I won't show the mic, but especially considering people are using the internet as a research tool, right? So they have questions, they're looking for answers. They're not looking for sales pitches. They're not necessarily looking for amazing headshots. So really getting into the mindset of what is someone looking for, and then answering the damn question on your website. That makes a great website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another way of thinking of it is kind of three key questions you want your website to answer. You know, when someone's Googling something, they don't even necessarily know what they're Googling. If they have a complex legal issue, for example, that they've never encountered before, you can think of them Googling things like trying to figure out what their problem even is. So I'll just use a legal example of like, you guys would be familiar with the term constructive dismissal, but if someone's just Googling like, I'm not so sure, something's off at work, you know, that my position is changing, like those are the types of terms and search phrases that potential clients in the employment law, just as an example, might use. So think of as what's the customer's problem or potential client's problem? And then further, how can you guys fix it and how have you fixed it for others? That's really, those first two buckets are really where people are going to be playing for the first kind of probably at least 2/3 of their research journey. You guys can think about any technical product or service you've ever purchased or stepped into. You do a lot of research. Gone are the days of the gatekeeper of someone just having to pick up the phone and say, I need some legal advice now. If you guys don't offer those kind of precursor steps on your website right away, maybe at 2 in the morning when someone's really stressed out, someone else will. They'll find that next page that will be more transparent with what they need. So think about, what's my problem? How can you fix it? And then is your firm right for me? I mean, a lot of firms are great at splashing out their credentials and a lot about them, but think about your clients or potential clients and how you can help them and how you have. You guys have the information, it's just a matter of extracting it out of your mind and your expertise of dealing with your clients and just putting it up on your website. So it's not as difficult as you think.
So what I'm hearing from you is knowledge is power and we're the disseminators of information.
Yeah.
And lawyers are natural speakers and writers.
Yeah.
So to that end, is having a newsletter or blog something that is almost mandatory? Let's start with you and roll it down.
Yeah, between newsletters and blogs, you can think of them as a tactic and not a strategy, to Sean's point. So if your issue for your firm right now is that you're not getting enough phone calls, you're not attracting enough people to your website, think of the blog as kind of the ground level foundation, like Jana was saying, for all those search-friendly criteria and posts. So you want to have that blog there to rank for more pages on the first page. But a newsletter would be more of a tactic if you already have your prospect's email address. And to the CRM point, CRM is just another way of saying it's a database of potential or past clients or existing clients and their email address or their contact form. If you have it in a database, you're able to send them an email and therefore a newsletter. So think of it as a tactic depending on where the bottleneck in your sales funnel is.
Yeah, I think the internet is a mirror back for us where there's a trust crisis in the world, right? And we don't know who to trust and who not to trust, and there's fake news. And so your blog is, even the word blog is crap, right? Don't think about it as a blog where you're just writing about the lunches you're having, but think about it as, like, again, a resource center or a key place where you're discussing the most important issues and parts of the scope of your practice, and use it to build trust, not to sell services. If I can leave you with one key takeaway, it's that marketing online equals trust building. So every time that you're doing a marketing tactic, think about how can I use this not to sell my services, not to make myself sound smart, not to impress you, but to build trust with you. And that's typically by answering your questions, adding value, helping you solve a problem.
Yeah. When it comes to thinking about newsletters and blogs, like Claire really touched on, especially about it's not a tactic, it's potentially part of a product strategy. When we're thinking about our marketing funnel and, okay, is this going to be something that, nobody's heard of me before and now they're magically going to be aware of this, or is this going to help them make the decision choosing between your firm and another firm, versus is this really going to be how I build that trust and keep people loyal to my firm and actually go out and tell their peers about my firm. Maybe they know people who have a similar problem, and this resource helped you out and can help them out. That's really what we're thinking about here. If you guys are thinking about how to really action on kind of the focus of this panel discussion, for me, one of the things I would recommend is thinking about that marketing funnel from the top, the middle, and the bottom, and writing out what are the problems that need to be solved at each stage, and what can you do from a content perspective to help solve that. At the bottom of the funnel, that's really where you're going to want to think about your newsletters and your blog.
Yeah, from my standpoint, I use newsletters. I issue them out every week, and I try and do it in a tone that no one wants to hear lawyers talk, like in their legal vernacular. I don't want to hear it, that's for sure, and I know my clients don't. So I try and architect my newsletters in a way that it's part of pop culture. So I talk about the importance of licensing, and I talk about the Games of Thrones merchandising themselves out. People are like, oh, I kind of get it now, that's cool. And I have people that are like, oh, I look forward to your newsletters every week. I'm like, oh, shit, that's great. Like, no lawyer generally hears that. So, yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, I read them every fucking week. Okay, so Claire, we're going to get into this a bit more. So if you have a prospective client on your site, what are the quick wins? Like, okay, we've got the information, we've all got our bios on there, we've got, this is what we do, and these are our wins and all of that. But what are the things on the website that are actually going to convert a prospective to an actual client?
Yes, love it. So we touched on the word funnel a couple times, just so we're all on the same page, because we've referred to it a couple times. So thinking about a marketing and sales funnel, you want to think about your website really as facilitating. Once someone comes onto your website, that's the top of the funnel. They're sitting up there in the top ready to do something. You've won them already by getting a click. They're on your site, and you've got a minute or two to capture, basically to get them into the middle of your funnel, meaning that they've put their hand up to say, I'm ready for a little bit more information. I want to go further into your site. That middle funnel is where, if you have a marketing automation platform or a form or something, that's typically where you might be able to start implementing something where you can start engaging the conversation. I'm sure all of you have a contact us or a request free consultation form. That's great. I wouldn't recommend abandoning that. But I would also recommend adding some additional things, because thinking about someone who's entering into maybe their first ever legal consultation, some might breezily just be like, oh, no problem, I can just have a quick one-off conversation, I'm happy to do that. But for other people, it could be an extremely sensitive, very difficult thing to start entering into that conversation. So thinking about other types of what was referred to as calls to action. So your contact us button or a consultation button should be featured prominently on your website with obviously a form or something there. to make sure that they're engaged. But think of the other opportunities you already have on your website that you can just more prominently feature. Maybe there, or you might want to develop some. Some of you might have like a frequently asked question page, or even better, bonus points if you have kind of a page set up around fees or transparency. I'm sure these are the first questions you get when people come in the door. If you can lay that out in like a really friendly, approachable way on your website that's always easy for people to find. So if they come into your site via kind of a backdoor page of whatever it might be, I'll stick with the employment law example of like constructive dismissal. They find their way there. They think they might have a reason to connect, but they're not ready to talk to you yet. Don't let them have any dead ends. Put what's I like to call like what's next content at the bottom of that post. It could just be as simple as, you know, have you seen this other post or other page that we have talking more about other labor considerations or as your rights as an employee. Just make sure that there's no dead ends on the site to engage further.
Right.
And so that way they don't bounce off, and they'll always have more ways to engage with you further, because that's the goal. You want to kind of be more permanent in their mind and thinking about you as a solution provider rather than just a one-off, oh, I'm in and I'm out.
Nice. Okay, so how can we, give us the tips on SEO tools and how can we manipulate them to help us?
Okay, so yeah, I like to think of, and I'll defer to Sean for this, but I like to think of SEO as kind of almost like building your, and Jan as well, who alluded to it earlier, almost like building your investment portfolio. Like there's those blue chip kind of keywords that you want to try and rank for and be on the first page. Your firm name, maybe your kind of marquee practice area, but then there's also those kind of like penny stock, long tail keywords that you might want to start thinking about looking into these SEO tools like keyword lookup. So for something like a divorce lawyer, obviously it's pretty hard to get on the first page for Toronto divorce lawyer if you're not already there. However, there could be some kind of backdoor long tail keywords that you might be able to look up and think about, like we worked with someone, I was doing some research recently on like custody, divorce lawyer, and I saw a lot of things like grandparent custody come up. So just think about like grandparents and their kids or their own kids are getting a divorce and they're wondering what their rights are. So they might be able to really benefit from some information existing on the web of what are the grandparents' rights in a custody dispute, something like that. So you can really think about those long tail topics that might be interesting for you to look up and consider what you might want to already take what's in your mind and just kind of put it out into into a blog post or onto a page and see where it goes from there.
Interesting. Okay, so we're going to go to social media now. Social media is a complement to a website. It helps to drive traffic and it reinforces the branding and the messaging. And it also helps to raise the profile of the professional as well. So it's this sort of double whammy. How many here own their own firm? So what, like half? I just got glasses and I don't like wearing them in public yet, so I think about half. So now you're not only a lawyer, but you're a brand ambassador, you're a client developer, you're a marketer, you're everything. And so to a certain extent, using the social media to reinforce you as a brand as well, separate and apart from your law firm, is important. So to the speakers, social media for lawyers. And I think also lawyers have this persona of we have to be uptight and we have to be, rigid, and it's not appropriate for us to be in that forum. So for you guys, social media for lawyers, yay or nay?
Do you want to kick us off?
I was like, oh my Lord.
2 thumbs way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely yay. This is not, the internet doesn't have it wrong, right? It is here to stay. The channels, the platforms may come and go, but the idea is people want to do business with people, and social media is a perfect way for you to be a person connecting with other people at scale.
Yeah, and based on the hands that went up when we asked, or when Ashlee asked who is currently using social media for their professional goals, it looked like a number of people in the room would agree that it's definitely in the yay. And for anybody who's kind of thinking, oh, maybe I'm in the nay column, my suggestion to you, so I've got a professional services client who was very hesitant to move into the social media space. They were like, yeah, we'll have a company page on LinkedIn, and we're comfortable with that. but we'll maybe think about doing Twitter because we should be on there because our clients are on there, but we don't really know why. And they didn't really have a reason for being on social media that they could articulate. And what my advice to them was, and I would offer this also to anybody who's maybe in the nay column, is to think about social media as an opportunity to further your relationship building opportunities. So with something like LinkedIn, it can be a great way to disseminate thought leadership. Jana mentioned Google Ads. Is anybody here running LinkedIn ads right now? Okay, there might be an opportunity there. And I want to share a little bit more about that story maybe in a bit. But it can be a great way to share your case studies, to share relevant articles that maybe you didn't even have anything to do with, but your audience finds that valuable. So it's really just about being authentic and building those relationships. Same thing with Twitter. So my client still, is hesitant to really dive in full feet with Twitter, but where they're finding incredible value is as a complement to live events like this one. It's great to be able to extend your relationships and to build with everybody in the room, and not just at the couple of people at your table, commenting on the presentations. Maybe it's a tweet about, oh, this Sean's really droning on or something. That's fine. But it's really a way to build relationships and to be authentic. So if you are in the nay column, that's my gentle nudge to maybe think about it in a different frame.
Do you guys vary in that, or?
Yeah, you probably don't want to be completely inconspicuous on social because, like you say, we're on there. There's a new type of person that's always online, and Google, they say, what's the quote? Google only likes you when other people do first. So social's a great way for people to just one-up you, and then Google recognizes every time someone engages with social feeds, and it kind of factors that into their overall picture of you and to what extent they want to start serving up your content more broadly in their algorithm. So it's always changing, but it's good just to have enough to be, conspicuous in there and help further not only your relationship, but your brand voice as well. People really want to know who you are as lawyers and your involvement in the community and things like that, and they want to build that sense of trust, to Kristy's point. So it's an easy way, a quick way to do that.
And one thing also is remember that you can have multiple personal accounts. So you could have your Twitter, your whatever, and if you want to have your Instagram and it's personal, you can close. We're talking about information is king, and we are disseminators of information. What are your thoughts on YouTube?
I love YouTube, right? So video will, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, 12 months from now, take over. When we talk about content is king, video is the who's the king in Game of Thrones now? Who's it going to be? Will it be Jon Snow? Video is the Jon Snow of content. Game of Thrones? No one. All right. So what's great about YouTube, what's great about online content is that you do not have to be creative. When we say video, it is not Steven Spielberg, HBO quality, spinny logo, professional light kit video. You can be making video on your iPhone and publishing it, and as long as the content is good, the video will be successful. So focus more on content quality than video production, and again, you can reach an audience in a way that takes big, complicated topics and breaks them down in a way that makes them approachable for the people who need the information.
From an aesthetic standpoint, though, lighting is pretty important.
Right.
And transcribing the video, too. And that's also a great way to just, as you're kind of free-form, if you're doing the video, whether it's scripted, you can kind of break that up, the script, into chunks, put them in the comments, use it on other places in social. And it's amazing how little bits of content can really start to grow across your different properties.
I think they even say 80% of people watch video on social with no sound on.
Yeah.
So for you to put a video that doesn't have captions,
yeah, that's a bad idea.
80% of the people won't be able to hear it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, Kristy, let's dive into social media more. What are the biggest mistakes law firms are doing with regards to social media?
Too many channels. So how many people here sat through a presentation like this 5 years ago and they said, get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on Instagram, get on everything, and you said, okay, and you went home and you set up your channels, and then they've sat there dead since then? Anyone? Yeah, it's a couple, right? So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, is that We're saying social media is great for legal services, and I stand by that, but that doesn't mean that every firm or every person should have every channel. So it's where is your audience? So family law and Facebook that makes a lot of sense to me. Employment law and LinkedIn makes great sense to me. So think about your audience before you're choosing your channels. Not enough content. So social media is demanding in the sense that it needs content. If you're tweeting, if you want to make a splash on Twitter, 9 to 15 tweets a day, right? So this isn't something you check in on Fridays and say, okay, I've done social media this week. We're always creating and publishing content. You're not connecting it to a goal. So social media, think about it like treading water. You're in the pool, you're going, arms are going, legs are going. And you're getting tired, you're doing a lot of work, and yet the shore never gets closer, right? That can be what social media feels like. You're on there, you're doing it, you're publishing it, people are liking it, and yet your book of business doesn't grow, you don't have more money at the end of the day, you don't, whatever, your profile as a thought leader is not growing in the way you want it to be. So unless someone here wants to be the next Kim Kardashian, no, Kim Kardashian wants to be you guys, I hear.
Oh yeah, she's going to law school. If you haven't.
So unless being an Instagram influencer is one of your goals, then building a platform, building a following for the sake of building a following is a great idea. But if you're on social media to get more clients, don't forget that. So always make sure that everything you're doing on social media is connected to a business goal. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are the three. I could go on, but those are the three biggest.
Of course. Well, they'd have to hire you for that.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Okay, so let's talk about analytics, because we can put all of this stuff out there, but if you don't know what it's doing, like it doesn't make sense. If you're not analyzing the efficacy of it, why bother doing it? So let's chat, Sean, about data, shall we?
Yeah.
Because it's king or queen. There's no sense raising your profile without understanding if it's working, who your audience is, what resonates with them. It's integral. What are the questions we should be asking?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I love analytics from a web analytics or a social media analytics perspective is that it really, it's that layer that tells you, okay, here was our strategy. Here's what we did. Did we do what we thought we were doing? So it really answers that question of, are we progressing against our goals? So Jana had asked how many people have Google Analytics on their website. Can I see those 3 or 4 hands again? Yeah? Okay, awesome.
Nice.
Has anybody ever played around with Facebook? And those who are using Facebook professionally, show of hands there? Okay, for those who use Facebook, are you guys using Audience Insights at all?
Yeah.
All right, write that one down. I'm glad that we got a hand. And then what about for those in a business-to-business setting? Where are my LinkedIn marketers? Yeah, are you guys looking at your LinkedIn insights? Would you guys like to see which job seniority, which function, which industry is coming to your website? You don't get that in Google Analytics, but you can get that with LinkedIn Insights. My favorite example from Facebook. Let me come back to that. How many people here know how many people in Canada right now are thinking about divorce? They're interested in divorce. Any family lawyers? Who here does family law? Yeah. Facebook Audience Insights can tell you how many people are thinking about divorce based on their interests on Facebook. So that's taking data from their browsing history, that's taking information. Pardon?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So then when you take a look and say, okay, well, I'm a family lawyer specializing in divorce, I service Canada, or I service a different geographic region, you can filter. There are X number of people interested in this. I'm only capturing Y% of that market. How do I grow that? And then you can also use that to target people. Wouldn't it be great to run advertising campaigns targeted to people who are thinking about divorce right now? Just quickly, straw poll. Who do you think is thinking about divorce more in Canada, men or women? Women, yeah. You guys don't need Facebook to tell you that. How many more? What do you think is the ratio? Who said women? 3 to 1. Oh my goodness. Okay, forget about Facebook Insights. You guys know your stuff. But you can validate this with some of these platforms. So that's my pitch to you guys, is to really think about not just Google Analytics. Google Analytics to me is like a starting point, because you do need to know who's coming to your website. You can get really important demographic information about who's coming there. You can find out what they're interested in, what pages are they looking at, which content do they find engaging, which keywords are most relevant to them. And this can really go into feeding your marketing strategy. So as you think about that marketing funnel, you might have certain keywords at the top of the funnel at the awareness consideration level, like family lawyer Toronto, family lawyer Mississauga. As you get deeper into the funnel, you might have keywords like how to choose a family lawyer, what to look for in a family lawyer, and then at the bottom of the funnel, you might have some of that social media or some of those recent developments in whatever the field is. So you still need Google Analytics to look at things like that, but when you're thinking about these other platforms, don't neglect their analytics too. I want to also just flip around for those LinkedIn advertisers. How many people are advertising to like senior executives, C-suite, maybe kind of that VP level? Does that sound about right? Wouldn't you love to know of your website visitors how many fit your target profile? You can actually get that. So for me, like analytics, like I said, it's that. And definitely I don't have the only perspective on this, but it is that layer between what did we set out to do and what did we actually do and how we closed that gap. So I'd encourage everybody to at least start there when they're thinking about how do I do my marketing, my digital marketing strategy better.
May I ask though, how do we know if it's working?
Yeah, so
what's the measure of success?
So the measure of success really comes down to what you think would count as a conversion, or what's appropriate at that stage. So maybe it's filling out a contact form or a request for consultation. That's probably the most basic middle of the funnel. But that might not be appropriate for the entire funnel. If somebody is still just kind of getting their feet wet, they're still in that consideration phase, maybe they're still looking around, maybe you actually just want to know how many people are considering you. So maybe they're looking at 3 to 5 pages on your website. They're not just coming to your website and then leaving. And then from the bottom of the funnel perspective, you might want to know how many are currently coming who are existing clients, and are they coming back? Is our website that resource center that they can come back to and constantly build that relationship with? And you can take a look at building out, here's my customer file. Let me see, out of this customer file, did they come to my website, and what did my customers do versus people who aren't my customers? So when we're thinking about which metrics to pay attention to, those are really what we're thinking of, is how do we define it, and then instead of just leaving it at basic like number of website visits or number of page views, it's really taking that a step further and saying how many people are actually considering our firm, and then how many people are actually submitting a form, clicking on a phone number, clicking on an email, getting in touch.
And I would build on that to say, choose 1, 2, 3, way less than 10 KPIs, key performance indicators, and track them. You can measure 100 billion. Infinite number of pieces of data using all of the insight and analytic tools. You don't have to, right? So if you've set your goals up front, you've done your strategy, you know why you're on web and why you're on social, look for 3 metrics to watch. And move through that cycle from plan through execution through measurement as quickly as possible and iterate. So this isn't year-end review, what did our digital marketing work for us? It's every month, every week, every social post, as quick as you can move them through. Is this working? If it's not. You're not printing textbooks, right? So we're tweaking and changing. Your social and your web content should be as dynamic as if you're in a conversation with a person. When you're talking to someone, you're doing that cycle. I'm trying to figure out what you want. I'm giving you information. I'm seeing if that works and if you're moving through the funnel. In person, we all know how to do that. That's how you sell things. Online, we forget how to act. So what you're doing with content and your website and your socials, putting people through that process as quickly as possible. So test and learn using those data points.
Well said.
Nice. So those are the questions we have. Do you guys have questions?
Thanks very much. I have a comment, and then I have a question. The comment is, all us lawyers have heard the expression, anybody who represents himself or is a fool for a client.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from Yana and from this panel basically is any of us think you can successfully have marketing through the web or social media on your own without getting expertise. Similarly, you might want to
Yeah.
get a fool for a client. This is complicated stuff. You have to have a lot of- Oh. This is starting out. Sorry. I don't have to do that again, do I?
Yeah, we got you.
I do?
Oh.
Yeah. It was a good comment, though. Share it. It was good.
Okay. We all know that anybody who represents themselves in court, you have a fool for a client. Any of us who think that you can successfully market your firm through web-based, through social media, seems to me you also have a fool for a client. You can't successfully do it unless you have people who have the time and expertise to make sure that it's done right. That's my comment. My question is, and I wonder if you just comment on this, is that there are some websites out there that, you know, are about 10 years old, and they look okay on your laptop, and you can navigate them on your laptop. Try to navigate them on a phone. And can you comment on the importance of building a website that is phone compatible so that you can navigate it on a phone?
Yeah.
I'd love to take a first answer at that question.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I had a client once, just by way of anecdote, who would pull open the Google Analytics reports and say, well, listen, I'm looking at the mobile usage on our website, and what this is showing me is that hardly anybody comes to our website on mobile, so why would I ever build for mobile? And the anecdote is that's a little bit like saying we took a straw poll of people with wheelchairs, and we found that we don't need to build curbs in our city. Sorry, we don't need to build cut curbs in our city. People in wheelchairs are not crossing the street. They're not on the streets. And it's, well, they're not on the streets because they can't access it. Like, that's why you have cut curbs, so that's the case. And so once they rebuilt their website, they found that up to 40% was actually coming from their mobile devices. So when we're thinking about building from, it was a great question, so thank you. So when we're thinking about building from mobile, we really want to be thinking about how do we make sure that we're not excluding everybody who comes to our website, regardless of the device. I mean, that buying experience, that marketing and sales experience of I need to find a lawyer to help me with this problem, that's device agnostic, so your website should be too.
Can you come up to the mic, please?
And turn the mic on, too.
I'm sure I don't need it, but. So what are your thoughts on hiring someone to manage your whole marketing presence, and you get on a monthly contract with them and they do that work for you on an ongoing basis? It becomes a monthly bill. Or hiring someone to do piecemeal work for you. I need you to rebuild my website. I need you to do some media relations work for me. And the back end to that is that I've had the frustrating experience working with marketing people that once you get on client roll, you're paying your monthly subscription of thousands of dollars a month or whatever it is to be on that management role. And once they've built your site and they've optimized your SEO and they've done a few things, then you don't get that same level of like driven service every month. But I also worry that if you hire someone just on a piecemeal basis, that you're not going to get the comprehensive view and they're not going to understand your long-term goals. So they both seem to have drawbacks, and I'm not very satisfied with either.
I think it's if you can find an ongoing partner who doesn't require your time as the bottleneck in order to get things done. So when we work in content, So once your website's set up and it's structurally sound and your keywords are chosen and it looks great and you're happy with the performance, you're ranking on SEO, and now on an ongoing basis you're doing content and social, right? That's the lifeblood of turning that from a static website into a resource center, driving traffic to it. If you, as the lawyer, as the thought leader, are the bottleneck, and that marketing person is sitting there waiting, saying, okay, Troy, did I get it? No. Warren. Okay, Warren.
So close.
Okay, Warren, in order to do anything this month, we need you to write a blog post, and we need a picture of you, and we need you to survey your customers. And you say, okay, I'm going to put that at the very bottom of my list because this is why I hired you. Then you're not going to get a lot of value from your partner. Because, so you'll need to, for an ongoing partner, I love the idea of an ongoing partnership because they get your business. You can't be authoritative and authentic online if someone's writing your content who doesn't understand your business. But if you're the bottleneck and they're sitting there waiting, that's a great way to drain a lot of money and not get a lot to show for it. One other thing I'll say is, the internet moves very quickly, and so SEO is changing very quickly. Content is changing very quickly. Social algorithms are changing quickly. So sometimes it makes sense to go with smaller subject matter expert, like having multiple partners, rather than one agency who can do it all but doesn't stay on top of things. Other times it could be, especially if you have big budgets, to go with a big agency that staffs a bunch of subject matter experts within each of those areas. But that's one thing I would note. Be wary of someone who says they can do everything because it's, and it's a small team because it moves so fast that you really have to be on top of things.
Yeah, and if you think about, we heard the importance of tying your website to a strategy and goals. If at the very least you can establish, just as your own selves or for your own firms, what your goal of your website is based on your type of practice and what type of what your business performance indicators are, revenues, all of those types of high-level business metrics. Decouple them from marketing success metrics and make sure that you're not thinking, oh, our email open rate is high, therefore, why is this not impacting our business? Really make sure you have a strong foundational strategy for marketing as it nets up to your overall business. So, how many consultations did we have this month? Like, these all net back to a holistic website strategy. It all starts with the content, the tone of voice you're taking with your customers. Figure out how that, and a partner, a marketing partner should have a basic understanding of that and be able to dialogue with you. And that way, depending on who's coming and going, you have that point of view that you're comfortable with. So whomever touches your assets, you can at least reiterate, this is what's important for the site, this is what I've seen that I like, this is what's been performing, this is what hasn't been performing. Once you start there with that big meaty strategy and you're able to see those metrics play out, that'll be a great starting point. But just if you can get that, it's a great one.
But the thing is also, sorry, 1 second. The thing is also is when you, like if you're hiring people on, you have your own firm, is that your situation? No. Oh, okay, fine. But if you did, you're hiring people on a monthly retainer or a piecemeal, that's a budget issue and a strategy issue. But if you're hiring people on and then they're not performing as well, for me, I have people to do stuff for me, but every month I have a meeting with them for an hour. What's happening? What's going down the pipeline? How did you perform? What was the expectations? Did you meet them? It's simple from you know what I mean?